Hello, peoples of the internet. Today I got Evie in the room and my plants and all the minerals. And today I thought I would tell a story about what I was told is Quetzalcoatl. And Quetzalcoatl and me have a long history, and I had done probably one of my first sort of a vision quest where someone had told me that they had entered into the 5D realm, and they were telling me how they entered into that realm, and that they were saying that they went up through this crown. And I believe there was either 12 or 13 beings that protect the realm. And you have to go up underneath and into it. And I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. I'll try that. This was about 10, 15 years ago. And when I tried it and I came up through that crown, there were 12 beings of light up on that side. And as I was coming up into the realm, I actually got stuck halfway, and I had to really push myself up and into the realm. And when I finally entered the realm, I remember looking around and seeing these 12 beings, which are the protectors of the 5D realm. And I remembered them being in robes and were very light beings. They were made of light, and they looked ancient. They were old in the face and very ancient. And I remember right away feeling reverence and bowing down and being like, oh sorry, like, you know, I shouldn't be here, kind of thing. And they basically just were like, stop, like, you don't have to do that. And once I stood up, and I was just kind of like, they're like, take back your power or whatever. And then in moments, this one went right in front of me, and I could see it staring in my eyes, and it said, I'm going to cleanse you. And then I felt like it was putting me inside out like a sock, and then pulled me right side out again. And it was not comfortable at all. And I just remember feeling like lots and lots of energy. And then I said thank you and came back into this realm. And when that all happened, I remember the being telling me that its name was Quetzalcoatl. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And then probably within a year after that, I had done a journey to the beats of drums. And I had gone to the upper realm, which is the cloud realm. And up in the cloud realm, I could see this being that looked like a giant lizard, kind of like a dragon. And again, it was who the being said, it was Quetzalcoatl. And I had communications with it, and it said it can teach me some things about this existence. It said it can teach me things like how to read minds, and it could teach me it said it could teach me how to float, like how to walk through walls, like all those kinds of things. And I was really excited at the time because I, hadn't really done much energy work at that point. And I was like, oh, wow, like that sounds awesome. And for a while, it was actually teaching me how to read minds. And I was practicing that until I got into like a greater connection or communication. I got an Evie hair on my nose somewhere here. I can feel it's itchy. Until I got into a greater connection or communication with the God source. And then as I was communicating with the God source, I asked it one day, like, is it in my best and highest well-being to continue to learn these things from this being that's calling itself Quetzalcoatl? And And the God source said, no, no, don't do that. Stop that. And so I trusted the God source, and I just decided that I wasn't going to continue to do that. And then I didn't do that. So now fast forward about 8 years, and I had gone to Hawaii, to Maui, Hawaii. And in Maui, I had gone to this little shop, and there were these really pretty pendants. And they were about this big, and they were made of real stone. And I remember that my eye kept catching this one pendant that looked like a fan, and was made mostly of turquoise. There was gold in there. I can't remember what else was in there. I might be able to find it somewhere, but and so there was another really cute one there that I liked as well, and that cute one had these birds. It was like a bigger bird and a smaller bird and a smaller bird. And since I saw all those there, I've seen lots of them as they've been in fields, so crop circles, and which is really interesting as well. And so that one got my eye. The one that looked like a fan got my eye. It was a feather headdress. And when I put it on, I immediately felt really sick for days. I felt like really high anxiety, really high frequency. And I could tell that it was helping me to like channel. And it really did. It did help me to channel. And so fast forward a couple years after that, when I decided to research what this pendant means. Like, what is this image? And what came up is that it's the headdress of Quetzalcoatl. And I was like, what? Like, after I said I wasn't going to practice with it or listen to it, when the God source said no, it turns out for years I was wearing this pendant and basically utilizing the frequencies of it. So that was the first piece that I was like, what the heck, right? And then I was asking the God source about it, like, why not this, and what does it mean? And the information that came into me for about 2 weeks is, number one, it was telling me that, like, in the old days, lots of spiritual people, like in churches and things like that, wore like hats that were kind of like this shaped. And the reason that they had those hats on, or even like the headdress, was to tap that energy from above. And the God source was saying to me, like, that's the old way of tapping energy. And at that point in time, it was telling me, you don't tap energy that way. You pull it through your heart center. You pull it through your center point of reference, through your connection to the God source, through your internal sun. That's the way that you should be pulling the frequencies through you, or else you're parasitically pulling it from outside of you, which in most cases is going to be somebody else's light. So probably the Mother Earth's light. And so I remember it telling me at one point in time that, like, the Matrix and other TV shows that show those codes coming down, you can see all those codes coming down in lines. Basically, that's the Mother Earth's codes. That's the Mother Earth's light. And then you can see there were certain codes that went to certain people, but they don't come down through your head. They come through your heart, and they have your name on them. So if it's your codes, it's going to say Lisa's codes right on it, and it's going to come through my heart center specifically for me, which also means that the stuff that comes through my heart center specifically for me isn't right for anybody else. It's only right for me. And I would have talked about that in an earlier one, about that black box, where it's like, dark beings were trying to contain our energies in the past, and all you have to say is, no, that's got my name on it, you can't contain my frequency, it literally is mine, it's got my name on it, and I take that back. And it's something that we have free will power to do when we know we can. So the God source was saying, no, we don't channel the light like that. And that's why it was making me so sick. But also it was like so much of it coming in, because I was channeling it through that opening. And the God source was telling me a little bit about Quetzalcoatl. And it was telling me that Quetzalcoatl, from what I could understand, from what it was showing me, was like a future being. It was a being that came from the future. And Quetzalcoatl is, there's a pyramid in Mexico that's devoted to Quetzalcoatl, which they call the winged serpent. And what the God source was showing me is the reason that they called Quetzalcoatl the winged serpent is because he arrived in a silver ship. He was flying like a winged, he means he could fly, and serpent as in the ship was silver, like a dragon's skin. And that he had come in and gave them information about how to farm. And the God source was also telling me that information was what it called a shortcut. So it taught people how to build gates, like fences, and how to own crops and fences. And prior to that there was no fences or crops, and there was just natural fields, like natural forests, natural foraging. And that it basically was the beginning of ownership. It was the beginning of mine, and it was also the beginning of having big fields and crops, which at that time they thought it was a blessing or a godsend, because then they didn't starve, because they could create these huge crops. And the God source is saying, but that's a shortcut to get, food. The food isn't actually meant to grow that way. That it's got a natural way of growing. It's meant to grow in a natural ecosystem. It's not meant to grow in huge fields like that. That there's better, like more natural ways of farming or creating food forests. Probably a lot like they did with the Amazon originally. And so it was saying that was a shortcut that actually led to the slavery matrix, because it was all about production, and it was all about ownership, mine, and it was about production, like materialism, money, like more. So like more food, and then you got to sell the food, and then more money, and an imbalanced universe. And so the God source said those things are shortcuts, and it said if the shortcut wasn't there, then over that span of time, so thousands of years, and actually it tells me 27,500 years is how long we've been in this cycle, but over that time span, we would have naturally evolved into other ways of gathering food, and other ways of like building land and building cities and things like that. We would have done it differently, is what it was saying to me. And it said that was sort of the very first part of the slavery matrix. And so it's like no shortcuts. Shortcuts are they prevent us from naturally learning or naturally growing. So it's a very similar idea of like AI and computers. And so it was kind of showing me this idea of, I think it's called Johnny Mnemonic, where he plugs into the back of his ear. He plugs into a computer and then he can learn anything. So he could learn karate, or he could learn piano, just like this. But the Godsworth said that, again, that's a shortcut. And what it bypasses is the experience of learning. So it bypasses the learning to focus on something over time, and learning to devote your attention and devote your time to something that becomes like a skill that you hone, that you get better and better at. So it's the process of living is about fully experiencing the process of honing skills and getting better at things. And that when you just learn it like this, it takes away all of that. And it takes away a big part of being human, the reason we are human and the reason that we're here. And it's unnatural and it's a shortcut. So anything we do that's a shortcut, we're going to pay a price for. And the Godsworth said, the natural way is evolving over time. So for me as a therapist, I believe in processing experiences and learning skills and abilities to love yourself into wholeness and safety. It's like all the things that I've been talking about in all my prior videos. And I do that for a reason, because I know that souls come in here with certain lessons, and that when we just try to get rid of the memory, when we, just try to bypass it, or we try to use, say, an electronic device that's going to use flashes and things like that, that's actually just going to numb out the experience of it, you're missing the whole point of it. And the point of it is to learn. It's to grow. It's to evolve. And if you get that lesson in this life, then you won't need it in the future. And it's part of what you came in here to grow with. And it's also, every time we do healings or we go through experiences and we have a lesson and we learn, we clear debris in our bodies, we clear debris from past lifetimes, and we clear debris in the ancestral lineage. So there's no point to the lessons that we go through and the experiences that we have. And the Godsworth goes as far as to say that there is no good or bad experiences. There's just very difficult experiences for the humans to have. And those experiences, there's lessons in all experiences. So whether it's a very difficult experience or whether it's an easier experience, more enjoyable experience, all the experiences matter, and that there's lessons in all experiences. And that's how I face shadow and shadow experiences in a human's existence, is really just processing, what did this teach you about being human? What did it teach you about being on the earth plane? What did it teach you about love? What did it teach you about your body? What did it teach you about your strength? What did it teach you about surviving? What did it teach you about thriving? What did it teach you about what really matters here? And so really just unpacking traumatic experiences so that we can love ourselves in that space and expand even there. And so what it told me about Quetzalcoatl is that when I was focusing on reading minds, and I was trying to like levitation and things like that. And actually I got pretty good at reading minds with the teachings that he was teaching me. I never learned levitation, although I've seen levitation in my dreams, and it seems really easy in my dream state, but it doesn't seem easy in this state. So what the God Source said is that there's a time, there's a proper time for that. So when the energies, collective energies in the world around us reach a certain level, then all of those gifts will begin to unlock or awaken in us. And until then, I mean, you can learn it, but you're sort of shortcutting trying to get somewhere that we're not meant to be necessarily. And so, that's what I know about those things. If anybody has any other stories they'd like to share, or knows, if you know something different than I spoke of there. I haven't done a lot of research into these things. I've particularly, again, because of my lessons and because of the information I receive, I try to keep it pretty clear. So I don't tend to do a lot of research, but I did look a couple things up, and I do know that some of those things are real. So I know that it's right for my existence. I can't say what's right for other people's existences because I really don't know. But I do know that those are the teachings I got, and I do know that that's what I've been told or taught. So they're telling me too that diets are another example of a shortcut. So dieting bypasses learning about your body and learning about what's healthiest for your body by feel, like what feels good to you, what doesn't feel good to you. Different people, even the idea of dieting is unhealthy in a lot of ways because it has to do with that old belief system that you have to look a certain way to be loved, which is also an illusion and a lie. And so even that alone is a shortcutting to, you know, a toxic teaching of the slavery matrix and the toxic masculine. Really, at the end of the day, we need to learn to love our bodies exactly how they are. And the more you love your body, the more you're going to be able to listen to your body, the more you're going to want to take care of your body. And natural ways of exercising are going to come to you. And natural ways of eating for you specifically are going to come to you. So there's 7.8 billion humans on this planet. There's 7.8 billion ways of existing, and everybody's is unique. And I think we're starting to see that more, like, you know, like old school, they told us, you know, that you should eat by the, what was that called? The chart, the circle, right? With the different things in it. And right now they've just changed that. So now they're saying, no, that isn't the way that's best for you. You should eat this way. And they reversed the food guide. And so, so I think that everybody has to eat in a unique way, and that it depends on each human being. So tomatoes are good for one person, but they're not good for another person. And meat might be good for one person and not good for another person. And a certain kind of exercise will be good for one person and not good for another person. And, you know, some people are going to eat, you know, 1 meal a day. Some people are going to eat 3 meals a day. And some people are going to eat 20 tiny meals a day. And it's all very unique to the human being. And those are things that in the freedom matrix, the freedom energies of the future, we're going to be in a lot more allowance around different people's uniquenesses. And in there too, the God Source was telling me that sleeping is another one that that we're told that we should, you know, sleep between 10 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning, and you should be in bed by this point, and all of these things. And the God Source is saying that's not true. That's based on a production matrix. So that's based on waking hours are based on light hours, daylight hours. And they're based off that, based on working, producing, working between these hours. And even in the old day, people that were working in fields and gardens and whatever they did, cutting wood, they did it during the daytime hours. That was the production hours. And then once it got dark, they went indoors and they turned on their candle, and then they went to bed so they could wake up again in the daytime hours. And so that's one way of existing, but that's not the only way of existing. So some people aren't going to go by that schedule. And in the future, what the God Source tells me, in the future, there's going to be like businesses open during later hours, because there's certain people that are going to be awake during those hours or working during those hours. And there's going to be almost like collective of hours from what I could see. And that it's going to be normalized that different people have different schedules and different modes of functioning, different ways of eating, different genders, different sexualities. It's all uniquenesses, and they're all unique to the being that the person's inside of, and they all have a right to exist. So yeah, that's it for that. So I'm just going to do any clearings around those teachings and around shortcuts. So I just want to clear that from our mind, body, spirits, and souls, because even the production matrix and like plowing out a building in like 2 months is a shortcut, when it's supposed to take us, if we're just using our sacred amount of energy and we're not working ourselves to the bone, literally sacrificing our own bodies, then it would take us a lot longer to build those things, 4 or 6 months. And taking the shortcut, everybody pays a price. And so even those mindsets that are built into the slavery matrix need to collapse, so that we give ourselves the honor and the respect and the right to take time to do things, to complete things, to create things. Like all of creations take time. Anything that an artist knows that things take time. You can go on the internet and you can go onto AI and you can get it to make you a picture in, 10 seconds, right? But that doesn't make you an artist. That artist took a lifetime of honing a skill to get good at what they're doing. And the shortcut's going to pay a price, right? So even nowadays, you have all the kids online that are using, computers for grammar and spelling and all of those things, even writing papers and whatever. They're losing a skill. They're losing abilities to hone skills of creativity, because writing is a creative gift. And so those are the prices we pay when we take those shortcuts. So Source God Mother, I acknowledge and accept everything that we're speaking of so far today. And I recognize that when humans take shortcuts, we pay a price. And that's not something that we've been taught. We've been taught to take shortcuts. We've been taught to find the easiest way. We've been taught to cut the corners, and we were trying to create things that are like this, like even the videos that are on here. My children were telling me that, Lisa, none of the youth are going to watch your videos. They're way too long. They won't watch anything over 5 minutes. And I thought, well, that's really sad, because they're going to miss out on the gifts that are embedded in having conversations or depth conversations or focusing or listening to storytellers. And on the internet, everything's about immediate gratification, right? Like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 2 minutes, right? Get it done, get it done. And we pay a price of being able to focus. We pay a price of listening at a depth. We pay a price at like co-regulation and co-communication. There's so many prices that we pay for these things, and that we recognize that even fields, when we made fields with, fences, it was like, this is my field, this is my crop, this is my stuff, this is mine. And we started to pay a price for mine, and we started to pay a price for altering nature, and for materialism and capitalism and hoarding. And the natural mode of functioning, the feminine way, is sharing. And we forgot about that, including sharing this earth, sharing the land. There's ways of doing this that we would have naturally evolved into if we hadn't taken the shortcut. And that I recognize that shortcuts seem all grand until you pay the price. And we don't want to do that anymore. That's an old way of existing. It's part of the slavery matrix. It's part of production, and including that wearing the headpiece that is pulling the light in through the skull, down through the brain, and then the brain, the data brain, makes choices based off of what it knows. What we aren't doing is pulling that information through the heart and then making choices based off of wisdom of the heart, alignment with our truth, alignment with our soul and the God source, which is in alignment with all. And Source God Mother, please help us to remember that, and please help us to clear these old programs, patterns, modes of functioning, ways of existing. And please forgive us, for we know not what we do. And we clear, cleanse, neutralize, harmonize, and alchemize all of that now through all quantum fields of existence, past the DNA and RNA and into the God space of first creation, disintegrating the old DNA and RNA back to dust and initiating the new, and reconfiguring for each unique blueprint. Clearing, cleansing, and healing all contracts, binds, barriers, cords, CORDs, so that we can begin to harmonize, or CHORD, with our own center point of reference first, and secondarily with the universe around us. And we clear, cleanse, and heal all drama, karma, trauma, pull out the dharma, neutralize, purify, cleanse, and heal from the cellular, energetic, and magnetic structures, and from the subconscious, unconscious, and conscious minds, pulling all of that through to oneness, to wholeness, to peace, to truth, to love. They're also mentioning to me that you can want somebody else's gift all day long, but if that's not your gift, then it's not meant for your pathway. Your gift is going to come out of your joy or your truth, or like something that you're naturally good at, not something we want of somebody else's, but something that is natural for your pathway. Otherwise, if you're just going after what somebody else has and you want it, you're actually going to miss your pathway. You're going to miss your golden pathway. You're going to take somebody else's pathway instead of your own. And that's one of the sacrifices, or one of the losses that comes with not listening to our own soul first, and clearing that sort of envy and greed, recognizing that we can honor everybody's gifts, everybody's unique gifts, and still hone our own. So really everybody has their own gifts. So it's not about trying to have other people's gifts. It's about trying to realize your own, or discover your own. And in some cases, I remember the God Source told me that some people's gift is honoring other people's gifts. So some people are so good at just like listening and and being moved by, or looking at art and being moved by it, or just like really revering and honoring it. And that's actually a gift in itself. And so, God, please help us to find our gifts, and please let go of trying to hoard or grab or get greedy about others, and clear those mindsets from our mind, body, spirits, and souls, and pain spaces, and wounds through this lineage and through all of the lineages, releasing through the children and up through the ancestral webs, past lifetimes in their webs, and for the collective universal who are open to it at this time, including all planetary systems and on all sides of the veil. Quantum forgiving, and in this universe and in the multiverses, quantum forgiving ourselves, one another, the human species, these teachings, not knowing any different or any better, sort of bypassing what God has in an alignment for your soul, and going towards what you think you should have, which is what I was doing in the beginning with this being that called itself Quetzalcoatl, that was teaching me these abilities that, you know, weren't God-given gifts. Those were things that I was just, you know, greedy to get, or curious, toxic curiosity, instead of allowing them just to naturally unfold out of me if that's what I was meant to do. And I do have a lot of six sensories, and so those are the gifts that naturally unfolded as I followed my path, and I honored my soul, and I honored my body, and I honored my communications with the God Source. So please forgive us, for we know not what we do, and purify back to the God Source origins, welcoming those healed helpers, those beings of light, those doctors, healers, and nurses in all realms of existence, to continue to purify and alchemize these spaces and drop us into those original blueprints, those original codes, and to continue these healings until completed. The God Source is also reminding me that oftentimes people will be like, oh, I want to be a doctor because my dad was a doctor, or, you know, or I see them over there and they're so rich, or, you know, maybe we're encouraged to be it by our parents, or somebody else thinks we should be it. And we're not actually listening to our hearts. We're not listening to our souls. That's another way to bypass your pathway. And there's everybody's got a role to play here. You know, that if the person that became a doctor and didn't want to be a doctor actually became the teacher, and the person who's the teacher actually became a chef, and the chef actually became a gardener, we would all be in our proper roles, and people would be happy with the work or the gifts that they're honing, the pathways that they're walking, the work that they're taking part in. It's really growth and expansion at that point. And we would all benefit if we were all able to do that. And at this point, we've been in separation consciousness, making choices from the head and what people tell us to do and the shoulds. And so we've really bypassed our heart centers, you know, and what we're really supposed to do here. So that's my shirt. I actually bought it for my son, but now it's mine. So, which is kind of funny because it's got the spaceship on it, just like the Quetzalcoatl ship, except for this one's got cats in it. So Source God Mother, we purify back to the God Source origins. Yes, the doctors, healers, and nurses. Yes. And we give so much gratitude and thankfulness to the helper beings and helper frequencies that are here with us, helping us, guiding us, loving us, nudging us, reminding us of what we needed the most, particularly our own angels that, you know, are always with us and loving us into wholeness, but also the elementals and the ancestors that know us from other lifetimes and that are waiting for us on the other side. We really appreciate all your help and your assistance and your guidance and your reminders and just loving us when we need it the most. And we heal these wound spaces, we clear these wound spaces through all quantum fields of existence, and we're opening to receive for best and highest well-being. With love and gratitude, I choose this. So I choose this and breathe. And I'll say that, you know, my pathway did lead me here today. So some of the things that I did, you know, I wouldn't have done from my today self, but I did for myself that didn't know what I was doing. And it did still teach me. I still did learn, and I still did come into an alignment with myself and my own soul and my connection to the God source. And so we can trust our pathways too, and we can be gentle on ourselves, because who knows why we walked the way we walked to get to where we are today. So if we took those shortcuts, we want to just quantum forgive ourselves for that and continue to try to find our own truths and our own joys from our own souls. Like, is this going to bring me joy? Like, what do I want? And is this going to bring me joy? And then aligning with that joy and supporting yourself and with the action of the masculine inside of you. So the feminine slows down, looks at the creativity, and then, you know, makes the choice. And then the masculine supports our choice and protects us as we walk forward. And so it's never too late to do that. We can still do that today. And I mean, if you're alive, you still can do that. And that's that gratitude piece, that when we go through deaths or we have an experience of a death, we remember, like, hey, I'm still alive. I can still do this, you know. Thank you, God. And I will mention here too, right before I am going to do the energetic clearing, but in this time period, I've noticed that, number one, there's a lot more anger in the air, which I believe are those subtle cues that we just need to step back and mother our own selves first, and then make a conscious decision not to take part in it. I know for me, I'm terrible at road rage, and that's like my biggest trigger, where I noticed myself in the last couple days get judgy, and then I recognized the judgment, and then I said, I give you permission to be a terrible driver. This isn't even mine. I don't have to fix it, save it, heal it. I just need to take a breath and calm down, you know, everything in right timing. I'm gonna get here in right timing. And just being extra conscious of not taking part in these subtle cues and wasting my energy in these spaces. And outside of that, we're still in a time period that if you rush, if you make choices to just push through something, we're really being reminded to slow down and to consciously choose, what's my next step, what do I do next, and to love ourselves into wholeness and to mother our own selves first, because if we push too hard, we're going to pay prices. And the good thing is, the prices we pay in this time period seem to work out in better ways than you could expect, but we're still being called to just slow down and take it easy in this time period and step back from arguments or disagreements or judgments. And a friend of mine also reminded me today that it's really good to ask ourselves, is this mine? And so if somebody's coming at you or telling you something, you can ask yourself, like, is this actually mine? Or are they just trying to process something? Are they just trying to work through something? Are they just in a bad mood? Like, is this even mine? And if it's not yours, it gets much easier to let it go. And so I was reminded of that today, and I'm going to make sure that I ask myself that question, is this mine? And the other question she was reminding me of is, with our bodies, you're like, does it feel good when I eat this? And she was reminding me, not even, you know, just an hour later, but what about the next day? Like, are your hands swollen? You know, do you have a headache? You know, does your belly hurt? And can we start to pay attention? Because again, we're all unique in the body. We all need different foods and amounts of foods and beverages or water. And when we slow down and check in with ourselves, then it's not what somebody's telling us we should do or somebody's telling us it's healthy for us. We're doing it what fits for our own bodies and for our own selves and for our own pathways, which is extremely loving to your body. It's one way to get into a right relationship with your body or a loving relationship with your body. So thank you for those reminders. I really appreciate that. And Source Godmother, just clear any of that as well from our mind, body, spirits, and souls to help us to remind us of these things when we need them the most. And we'll just do the energetic clearing. So Source Godmother, please ground me to my feet. Please immediately evolute my systems for best and highest well-being of the systems within me and the systems around me. And evolute all of those that are within my heart frequency space, any of those that are open to it. Help them to also immediately evolute their systems for best and highest well-being of the systems within us and the systems around us, including upgrading those frequencies of our feet. And as you upgrade those frequencies of our feet and we really ground down into the insides of our feet, we're able to access those light codes from our heart centers, those healing frequencies, life force frequency. It's able to really soothe us and ground us into our 0 point so that we can access our own truth first and support our own truth first and make conscious choices from our 0 point or from our center point of reference. Please also root us down from our red chakra, so our root chakra, so our sort of genital area, down our hips, legs, feet, and 2 feet below us into our universal star, and help us to be fully connected to this universe and to the multiverses so that we can share life force frequency, healing codes, knowledge, and wisdom, including the essences of the plant and animal kingdoms, which are really stepping up right now. So today we got a bunch of bird energies and some squirrel energies. And the squirrel was saying that when we go deep inside of ourselves, when we really root down into ourselves and we access that dirt at our feet, there's so many treasures there. There's so much to be nourished by. And to me, that's that rooting into the multi-universal realms and exchanging those life force frequency and healing codes. And as we do that, please fractalize those healings throughout our mind, body, spirits, and souls. And we're opening to receive for best and highest well-being. With the most ultimate of love and gratitude, I choose this. So I choose this and breathe. So I still have my pendant somewhere, but I haven't been wearing my pendant because around that time period, the God Source was teaching me about false idols, and that basically we're meant to go directly through the God Source and to get our information about like your own existence from the heart center and from your direct connection to the God Source. And so I took it off. I haven't worn it since, but man, that was a wild piece of information and a wild ride and just crazy. So, yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you enjoy this information. If you've had some awesome experiences as well, please put them below. If you have any comments about anything I spoke of, please put it below. If you have any education for all of us or wisdom, please put it below. If you have any ideas for other things you would like to hear about, please also comment. And if you know somebody that could benefit from this video, please share this video and subscribe. And outside of that, I wish you all peace. I hope you find the peace that you're looking for. May we all heal well, and lots of love from me. Until next time, have a great day, night, evening, morning. Have a great moment. All right, bye now.